A problem with the plumbing fittings. If you've been following the channel, you know that I decided I would use Multicush to do which is like a flexible plastic tube to do the plumbing, to replacing more or less 95% or 99% of the bit of copper that was in the house. Because I hadn't used the system before. I have used plastic before, no, but not this type, and I just fancied having a go at it. What I have found is with some of the fittings, they're a little bit fragile. So when you come to fit the olive and the nut and to tighten it, it rips the thread for whatever reason. And this has happened now on 3 or 4 of these joints that I've used. And also, you've got little rubber washers there. They tend to be extremely fragile, and they tend to tear quite easily as well. So, something to watch out for. And they're not overly cheap, these things. They're about €4 or €5 per join. I did actually, luckily, I actually bought a couple through Amazon and was able to send them back and get replacements, which is easier than if you're having to then take them back to the store that you bought them from to get a refund. So I don't know what it is, and I've bought probably 30 odd of these fittings, and like I said, 3 or 4, so about 10% of what I've looked to fit just haven't worked. I don't know what it is. Is it something that I'm doing wrong, or is there a fault on some of these fittings? You can see there what how it works is you've got a little tool which I've shown on a previous video that you use to ensure that the pipe is nice and circular, and it just sort of bevels the edge ever so slightly, and then you're going to push the pipe onto the fitting, and on the pipe you've got a nut and you've got an olive, and an olive is like a washer, internal washer if you like. These olives are actually split, and they've got a thread on them on the inside as well to sort of grip the plastic. So it's not the same type as the olives that you use on standard sort of copper fittings. Um, so you then sort of push the nut which pushes the olive tight to the thread, and then you start to hand tighten. So not at this point, you're not even using a wrench, you're just using your hand. And it goes on, it starts to tighten. But then as you then start to use the wrench, you find you can sort of hear it tearing, if you like. And what happens is it just won't then properly tighten. It rips the thread, and it then makes the joint unusable, because obviously it's not going to be watertight like that. Right, so here's another one of the. I haven't got too much footage of these, so I'll sort of be repeating these photos or little shots of video. Here's another one where the thread's just gone on it. I don't know why it happens on certain ones. Is there a problem? Is there a quality control problem? I don't know. Have you used this type of fitting before? You see the washer there has just sort of snapped while it's been tightening, which shouldn't happen because obviously it should be sitting within the tube itself. So I'm not quite sure why that's happening like that. Yeah, so if you have used this system before, have you had any problems with it, or did it all go tickety-boo? For me, first time I'm using it, I'm more than happy with the system. So it's fairly fast. You don't need too many tools. Your sort of standard plumbing tools will work because essentially they're compression fittings. There is another type of fitting that you can use for Multicush. I'll keep calling it Multicush because that's all they call it in France, and it's easier for me to say that than whatever it's called in the UK or in America or whatever. And this is so this is what I'm talking about. So you've got various layers of plastic. You've also got an aluminium inner as well with it, which gives it a certain amount of rigidity. So it means that you can shape it, bend it to a form, and it kind of stays in place, which can be useful, particularly if you're doing it just prior to putting any clips in place to hold it. So it's different from the standard sort of plastic where you have to have the clips in place, otherwise it just won't hold. Here's another picture of another fitting, again where the thread's just been ripped, and it's the same sort of thing. So I've offered the tube up, I've started to tighten by hand, it's gone up so far, and then you feel resistance. So then you put a wrench on it and start to tighten it, and whoosh, it rips the thread. It may be, I mean, if I fitted, say I've fitted 35 of these fittings, and I'm using exactly the same system each time I'm doing that. So it's not as if I've changing the way I'm doing things. So why is it that you've got damage to just these 3 or 4? I don't know. Again, so here's a picture again. There's another elbow fitting where the rubber washer has snapped, and the thread itself again has been ripped. So I'm curious to know why. I need to probably sort of start looking up if this is a common problem with this particular type of fittings. So there you can see, there's a bit of video of it. You can see clearly there on the right hand thread that the thread's got problems with it, and it's lost, again, it's lost one of the rubber washers. Yeah, it's curious. It's curious because when I used to use sort of the standard copper compression fittings, I never had this problem at all. Well, obviously it's a slightly different system, but the technique is essentially the same. You're tightening a nut onto a thread, and in theory it should just work fine, but on this one it hasn't. So again, a damaged one. Just to lighten the mood slightly, here's a video of the shower, hot and cold water now we've got in the shower. You can't feel the heat of the water, but I can assure you it's hot water. That's great. I've got a working shower. So pleased with that. And that means now that I can get cleaned up if I'm staying at the house now, which I will be doing after the holidays. I'm still on holiday as you're watching this video. But when I return, I can actually stay at the house and get cleaned up. So that's good. Anyway, let's return back to the Multicush. Right, so here we are again. So again, this is just showing you the various layers rather, that makes up this particular type of plastic. And yeah, it's a good system, but I have had a couple of minor problems with it. So if you've got any experience of it, please let me know. And thanks for watching this fairly short video, and please leave comments, and I'll see you in the next one.